Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel after a brief summer break. Here we have the Shirley design sofa with an open backrest. It's very peculiar, very comfortable. Let's dive in. Let's start from this very composition, which is a meridienne corner composition. We have a width of 318 and a depth of 280 on the side of the meridienne. Since we have a smaller terminal element, this very composition could be made with 298 width by 280. It's built in a peculiar way because we have two elements which are joined like this and then attached so that they don't move, and the open backrest that we were describing at the beginning of the video. You can see that here from the terminal element there's a single element of the backrest which sprouts out and goes over the meridian element, and so when they are put together they create this very nice composition. It's not only beautiful to look at when you look from the front of the sofa, but as you see in the camera, it's also beautiful to look at from the back, so in the middle of a living room. This is the point of such a design. On the Shirley sofa we can also have the chaise-longue composition. We can use the terminal elements, we have two of them, and we can use of course the chaise-longue. Well, you don't see it here but you can see it in the catalog, and by combining these two elements we can have composition which start from 312, then move to 322, 332 and 342. So it's rather flexible with quite a few four choices in a slightly narrow range. Then we have the linear elements. Of course, the linear elements are just like the terminal element with a double back armrest, so as if I had an armrest here, a traditional three-seater. And these can be in 228 and 248 centimeters wide. To any composition you can match an additional ottoman, which can be either 80 by 90 or a square one but with a side of 100. So let's talk about its proportion and heights and detail measures, and let's start by well, we can point out these slender type feet with this oval section, elliptical section. This is very peculiar. They are 12 centimeters high and they can be customized with the same colors of the back structure we'll describe later, and they support the whole sofa. And here we have this single volume which brings us up to 43 centimeters. Of course you perceive a single volume, but inside you have multiple layers of material, more on that later. This leads us to the armrest, okay, a nice connection between the two. The armrest is rather wide because it's 30 centimeters wide and it's only 10 centimeters higher than the seat of the sofa. On top of it you get this very thin and very soft scatter cushion which is included, and well, in my taste I perceive it to be a tiny bit lower than I would expect as an armrest, but just a tiny bit, and very, very comfortable when I lie resting on the sofa, taking a nap for example, because the angle and the support of my neck is very good. Let's talk about the backrest. We said an open backrest. This is beautiful to look at from the back, and we can also say it from the front because there's this gap between the back cushions, and beyond this gap you perceive the structure, and from here you don't see the supports of the structure, so it appears to be floating, let's say. And so it's not only beautiful but also quite comfortable because it's quite high. You know, if you had a bulky structure and you made it too high, a full structure and you made it too high, it will simply be too heavy. In this case, since it appears to be kind of floating, the fact that it is being designed rather higher than the average sofa, it doesn't make it appear too heavy. It's actually quite light even if it's high. And so what do we have? We have 74 centimeters height of the counterback. To give you an example, a table is 75, 76 centimeters, so tiny bit low than a table. And then you have 88 centimeters high for the top of the back cushion. And let's give a few comments about it. It's completely filled in natural feathers, and they're all in separate chambers, so that even if it does sink in, as you can see, after you have spent a night watching a movie, you will not find, you see that it kind of takes its shape back, except for the corners, and so it does sink in a bit, and it does support my shoulders. If I move the bottom a bit towards the front, it kind of supports my neck, even if it's very soft here. Okay, so I would not normally sit like this, but this type of high soft backrest, together with the 56 centimeters deep seat, makes it in general very, very comfortable. A few more comments about the seat. We said it's made up by multiple layers inside, so we have a wooden structure. Attached to the wooden structure, we have elastic orthogonal bands, which support the polyurethane foam, which is made in very, very high density. There's a density 50 underneath, then we have density 45 in the middle, and then we have ClimaSoft on top. ClimaSoft is a special type of filling which is synthetic, it's not natural, but it's built like feathers, and so you have density 50, density 45, then the ClimaSoft, and then we have a special feature that I'll tell you about in a minute. Here is the special feature. With the Shirley sofa, we said you have all these layers of different materials to enjoy, let's say, exploit all their features of comfort. But also, not only you choose the fabric or your leather of choice among a wide collection, the leather fabric that you choose goes through an additional stage of upholstery that is not planned for other models of our collection. It's very high-end, and I can tell you how it works, because you can perceive here. I will remove the fabric. The fabric is always removable for the fabric version, and you can see here we don't perceive the back of the fabric, because here there's an additional cover which has been placed behind the fabric itself of your choice, and between the fabric of your choice and this cotton layer in the back, there's an additional filling. I can tell you, well, I don't have the data of what's the weight of this additional filling, but I can tell you is I do perceive it like slightly less than 1 centimeter, and I touch it like this. I can perceive it's rather padded. And what's the effect of this? So we said elastic bands, density 50, density 45, ClimaSoft, and then we have this additional padding. This makes, in my opinion, for a unique perception, because you know, when you move on a sofa, even with a high quality fabric, even with a thick and heavy fabric, by heavy I mean its weight by the meter. When you move on the sofa, if it's a soft fabric, there are these folds that gets created. While with this sort of padding, the fabric, of course, the perception of your body when you sit onto it, when you lie onto it, is even more comfortable, but it also makes the fabric more stable. It's not that you cannot perceive certain folds. I can actually tell you that certain folds make a sofa beautiful. A sofa which is completely square and completely flat is not interesting, in my opinion. But so it's about comfort and stability of the fabric, so the folds are more natural. It's about comfort and about looks. Very high-end feature. So I described in a dreamy way about the floating backrest. Of course, the backrest is not floating, but it has these supports, which are rather sparse. There are not too many. So, for example, on this side, you have only 2 of them, one here and one here. They have the same elliptical section that of the feet, and this is a beautiful detail. You can have multiple finishes. You can have glossy black. You can have gray-brown with RAL 1819, and then you can choose your color of choice from the RAL color scale. For example, this is Umbra Gray 7022, and so you have this great selection of colors with which to match the fabric and the metal structure, and you can match it not only between them, but also matching them to other items of furniture that you have in the room. As we said, you can have the Shirley sofa with every fabric, velvet, faux leather or leather of our collection, and I can tell you that here we have it in fabric, but if you make it in leather, it's amazing. Also because the Shirley sofa is manufactured in a partner factory that we have in Tuscany, which is very good at working leather. So as a leather lover, I can tell you that it will be amazing in leather. Here we have the Barnum boucle fabric. Barnum is a high-end boucle, I would say a medium boucle in the sense of the height of the fur effect that it gets created. There are lower boucles and higher, bigger boucles. This is kind of medium. With it has different shades, but pretty much a single color. It is made up of cotton, viscose, wool, nylon, acrylic fiber, so it's a mixed fabric with most of it is cotton, viscose and wool. And this is color 14, which is a kind of iron gray. It is not machine washable, so even if you can remove the fabric, in the case of Barnum, you cannot push it, place it in the washing machine. And it has very, very good data because its weight, we were talking about weight, the weight of the fabric before. This is 950 grams for a meter of fabric, so very high-end. And for a mainly natural, for a fabric made up of mainly of natural fibers, it has very high Martindale results, which is 60,000. Martindale results is the test for resistance to scratch and use. So we can say it is not machine washable, but it is a very reliable and very practical fabric. I also like the perception. They've been saying that this year is the year of boucles. They are saying that next year will be the year of chenilles, but we can say that it's totally aligned with the times that we are living in interior design. But since it's not something weird or something extreme, we can say that it will last for decades. It's everlasting, this sort of approach. So we've come to the end of today's product review about the Shirley design sofa with its open backrest. I hope that you liked it and see you next time. Bye bye.